If you're someone who struggles with keeping track of the balance in multiple accounts, I have an easy solution for you. Get the Jupiter Digital Banking app. You can connect multiple accounts on Jupiter Money and view all of it in one place with their new Net Worth feature. They also have another fantastic feature called Debt Tracker, which helps you track all of your loans on Jupiter and also sends you reminders for loan payments. It's quite simple, a banking app that helps you master your money. Check jupiter.money to find out more or download the Jupiter app on your Android or iOS phone and get started. Folks, welcome to Paisa Vaisa. I'm your host Anupam Gupta, B50 on Twitter, and on today's episode, after a really long time, we are talking about health insurance. My guest, Susheel Agarwal, founder, director, Ethika Insurance Broking. We'll talk about how to choose the right health policy for you, mistakes to avoid, and much more right after this short break.
If you're a cricket fan, check out Edges and Sledges, India's favorite cricket podcast.
The podcast focuses on Indian cricket, the IPL, and has a ton of banter both on and off the field.
We talk about the week's biggest cricket stories with current and ex-international cricketers, coaches, or sometimes just between us.
And it's hosted by me, DJ.
Me, Varun.
And me, Ashwin.
New episodes release every week.
You can catch us on the IVM Podcast's website, app,
or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.
And welcome back. Susheel, welcome to Paisa Vaisa. Thank you so much for doing this for our listeners.
It's my pleasure.
Great. So, Susheel, Ethika is an insurance broking company. You just help our listeners in understanding what that is, what exactly is that, and what do you offer, and who are your clients?
See, insurance broker is one of the distribution channel which is authorized by IRDA. Like any other channel which you properly listen is insurance agents, or even banks sell insurance policies nowadays, right? And there are web aggregators also who have recently been given license to sell insurance. But among all the channels which are available to buy insurance from the customer's point of view, insurance broking is the only channel which is representing the interest of the buyer, not the seller. You will be surprised to listen that, right? That means when a customer is buying a policy from an insurance broker, it is like having a double insurance. That means if a broker has suggested a wrong policy, then the broker become liable to pay for the claim in case if the customer can prove that it was a wrong advice. So
Wow.
it is like insuring the risk of insuring.
Very interesting.
Right.
So, go on, please.
Yeah. And a insurance broker is the only entity which can deal with all the insurance companies. That means when I go to a client, I can show him a product which is the most suitable to him, irrespective of whichever insurance company it is selling, unlike any other insurance distribution channel.
Very interesting. So, your website says that Ethika is especially suited for small and mid-sized companies. There's a good chance that some of our listeners out here are actually owners or entrepreneurs or promoters, small mid-sized companies that you want to reach out to. So, what is your pitch to them?
See, when I started Ethica Insurance Broking Company, and I realized that which are the sort of customers we want to reach out to, right? And when we thought about a large company base, and when they insure their employees or their asset or something, they have a capacity to recruit a senior insurance professional on their payrolls and actually do the same job which mostly we do, right? But when it comes to SME and mid-sized companies, they are so much engrossed into their day-to-day activities that the risk management comes in the last stage, right? And that is where we thought we should be able to help them as their own extended arm, because they can't afford to recruit a high profile or high drawing salary person from the insurance background. So we can bridge that gap, and we can come into them come to them as their own team member and help them in managing the risk or hedging the risk. So that is why we targeted the SMEs and mid-sized companies, and we are very happy because in the last 6 years now we have 300 clients across 3 cities.
Wow.
And
Wow.
hopefully we'll continue doing this growth.
I surely hope so. Sushil, I want to just go back to the starting of your answer where you said that big companies have their own person who does this for them, the
Yeah.
handle risk. Tell us about this, the responsibility of someone handling insurance for a company full time.
Yeah.
What is it? Why is it so important?
See, in one line, if I actually answer this, no business can afford to run without having a proper risk management in place. That means if and I'm dealing with so many customers, right, even if one legal claim comes, right, the defense cost itself is so high, right, that my whole focus will shift it from managing my business to protecting my business. That means to fight for the claim and all. Then there are so many assets. If I'm in a manufacturing company, I have put so much money in place to build that assets, factory or warehouse and all. Even if one loss, it could be from floods, it could be from fire accidents, it could be from riots, right? So those things is continuously taking away my peace of mind. Rather, this energy should go in managing and building my business, right? So when I outsource this particular risk to somebody else, that means if somebody else is telling me that you focus on your business, rest of the things, if something bad happens, I will take care of it, then I can properly focus on my business and build it. And that is why I say this is very important. And there are
But
various risks which we are exposed to. Yeah, go
that
ahead.
was in fact going to be my next question. What are the risks? In the sense that, let me ask it in this way: what does your average day go like? Like you've got 300 clients. Tell us about that. That what does your average day go like? What are the most common problems that come to you for resolution from these SMEs and MSMEs?
Yeah. See, there is a huge shift of the risk also pre-COVID and post-COVID, right? So if I talk about post-COVID, most of the risk which is very popular is related to the employees. For example, if I have around 50 employees now, earlier, I mean, it was okay even if I was not covering them for group health. I'm assuming that okay, I have some of them covered under ESI, or some of them might be having some government policies or some other policies issued by their spouse or siblings. But now it is not okay, because one COVID claim can wipe out their entire savings, right? That is what we have seen, right? We have never seen 20-25 lakhs of hospital bill. 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh per day was very common, right? And if two or three members were falling sick in one home, that means 50 to 75 lakhs rupees of expenses. Who will pay, right?
Hmm.
Either I have to sell my house if I have, right? Most often, most of the middle class houses are owned by banks, not by them still, right? It will take 20 years for them to own the house, right? So it will land up the employee to the road. I mean, it will take 10 or to 15 or 20 years of whole generation to recover from the loss. And that is where they expect either the government or the company. And in our case, mostly right to healthcare is not, government is providing right to healthcare for either poor people or rich people are having money to take care of themselves. It's a middle
Hmm.
class who are requiring, and all of our employees are either middle class or little bit of above middle class and lower middle class. And then it becomes our major responsibility as an employer to actually take care of this risk, right? And after COVID, the things has been changed. Now most of the companies are really opting for some or other health cover for them. And we as a Ethica, we actually handhold them right from beginning, where what is the right cover for them to choose from, how to decrease the premium. We offer the lowest premium possible for them to cover the risk, right? And then once this risk is in place, we also help them in covering the other risk. Other risk are basically like your asset insurance. So if I have huge asset, right, how do I cover, what are the risks which are exposed to, right? And then now this war is happening, most of the clients say that whether my risk are covered under the war also, but no policy actually covers this risk, right? So they should be known about, they should be informed about it. Then there is a liability risk which is increasing, right? Seeing that so much awareness is happening with respect to consumer laws and the common law, then something happens, then the client is informed and then he sues and he puts a legal claim or legal notice, and even those things can be covered under the insurance, right? Sometimes the defense cost is much more than the actual legal claim which is asking, right? And it takes away a lot of energy. So this, all those things can be covered when I'm running the business.
Let's talk about that. That defense cost you're talking about. Let's talk about The unexpected risk to business. Now, you started your answer really well, giving us why the health insurance side is very important. In your previous answer, you spoke about, dis- fire, riots, and God knows what not, which could be a risk to the business, which could probably even endanger the capital expenditure spent on
Yeah.
building that business. And if you're not insured, then that's a pretty big risk. Talk to
Yeah.
us about that specifically. In your view, what are the biggest risks that you have seen that come unexpectedly on SMEs and on MSMEs that they're not prepared for? And why that's important to risk, to ensure that side of your business. Tell us about that.
Yeah. See, any risk in that way is unexpected because it's all uncertain. That's why we are calling it as a risk, right? Now, coming to the bigger or lesser, it all depends on the intensity and the frequency of that incidents happening. For example, if I have a larger base in terms of distribution, I have many warehouses, then I'm more exposed to the risk associated with flood. So if my warehouse is in a city where it is very close to the sea, or in an area where a lot of cyclone, or the frequency of cyclone is very high, then the risk is more associated with that. Then there is a terrorism risk, which is a recent time we have seen this risk increasing year on year, right? So one terrorism attack will take away the entire capital, right? So even though that risk can also be covered, then there is a risk associated with theft, burglary. Then there is a associated with the breakdown of my equipment. So if I have a hospital and I have a very costly equipment, let's say 50 crores equipment, who is doing some sort of scanning or some sophisticated equipment, and if it breaks down, it will take away the entire turnover of next few months, right? Because I will not be able to run the business. So not only the as risk associated for the breakdown of the equipment, that means the equipment is covered, but the consequential losses, the losses arising because the equipment is not working, the decrease in my profit because of certain equipment not working, can also be covered, which is a huge relief. That because equipment I can repair it, it may not be costing much, but the losses occurring because the equipment is not working might be very huge. So even those losses can be covered, but very few SMEs and all, they know about it. They think that
Mm.
for me to do insurance is to meet the compliance, because I have taken loan from bank is asking me to insure it. Then I go to insurance company, I say that just give me a policy which will ensure that my bank is not asking any questions. So that awareness is not there. But when we bring the prudence of insurance into this, then they will be surprised that okay, all those things can be covered. Yes, right. And if you see the cycle also, right, if I'm running a business, 5 to 10 years one claim generally happens. That's how we say, right? So the premium what they pay is peanuts when it comes to the risk which is covering. Like for a 1 lakh rupees risk, it will be like 150 rupees premium for covering my
Oh,
assets, which is very very
hardly.
small. So I mean, if I go and do a client meeting in like some restaurant, I think I'll be paying more than what actually I pay for the insurance to cover the assets, right? So
Nice
all
comparison.
this prudence actually is a duty for of an insurance broker to bring awareness, right? And unfortunately, or rather I'll say fortunately for many people who are youngsters who are listening to this audio, is traditionally we have seen insurance as LIC. So from the childhood we have been saying that okay, don't meet an uncle, because if you meet an uncle, first thing they will try to sell the insurance policy. So we have confused between insurance and investment, and both signs are different, huge
Correct.
difference between both the signs, right? So investment is a different science which has to be dealt differently. For a insurance, one is LIC is a reason where, because we have confused between LIC and insurance, and second is insurance will make us to think about bad. And
Mm.
traditionally Indians, we are very positive thinkers. After coming out of this British era and after getting independence, we always want to think about positive thing, because we have already seen the worst, right? So
Mm.
when we talk about insurance, we are talking about some wrong incidents, some bad incidents which might happen, which is not a good conversation, right? We avoid doing that unconsciously, right? But if I do one conversion once in a year, right, to ensure that in the last 1 year how much I have grown as as a person or as a company, right? And what are the new assets which I have brought, what are the new risk which has been started discovering or occurring, or which has been increased across the world, and whether I have
Mm.
a proper hedge in place, right? Whether I have proper insurance policies in place, or if I don't have insurance policies for that, whether I have another risk mitigation or other strategies which has been taken care, where I am less exposed to those kind of risk, right?
Sure.
So this kind of exercise has to be done once in a year, which I believe. Right.
Okay, so last couple of questions before we go into the break. You spoke about floods, and I just remembered. You must have seen this movie, right? Oh my God, Akshay
Yeah.
Kumar and Paresh Rawal, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
what about act of God? I have a shop and suddenly it rains and if you've seen that movie, what's your point of view on that? What would you be telling Paresh Rawal there?
See, act of God, the earthquake, the floods are covered in the policy, but then there is a add-on. So when a person is taking policy for the sake of just meeting the bank requirement because bank manager is asking him, and he has not ticked that checkbox where he has taken the add-on, and that add-on might be costing very peanuts, right? But the impact will be huge. He will not be getting paid for that. In insurance language, it's called a STFI, not just floods. It's called a STFI. That means storm, tempest, right? Floods and inundation. That means there are
Wow.
four type of floods in that,
Okay.
right? So all the four, storm, tempest, floods and inundations, are covered. So when I say act of God, even those risks which is been created by the God, by the nature, right? Insurance helps us to cover those risks, right? In fact, there's other way around. There is a risk which is a huge risk created by man itself, which is the nuclear
Hmm.
risk, which is not covered by any other insurance policy. So act of God risk are covered, but act of man risk, some of the risk are not covered.
Nice, nice. I like the way you put that. Okay, before we go to the break, Sushil, tell us the benefits of a good, a really good group health insurance plan for a company, into top ups and all that. How does having a very nice, robust group health insurance plan benefit both employers and employees?
See, the group health insurance plan is no more is a kind of good to have benefit. It's a must to have benefit now, right? Maybe 15 years back, only those employers who were having good cash flow, they were insuring their employees, and they were expecting the rest of the employees to either cover by themselves or covered by the ESI or some other schemes. But after, in the recent 2 3 years, or maybe after COVID, it has become a must now. Now even the employee is asking that what kind of health cover you're going to offer if I join your company, because I'm already having this kind of health cover in my current organization, right? So as an employer, if I'm running a company and if I have around decent, around 15 20 employees, it's become the must. Now when I go to a insurer, right, what I see is basically I'll be asked by most of the people to cover 3 or 4 or 5 lakhs rupees of insurance, right? Which will cover, say, 90% of the diseases which we have, right? Fortunately, in India, if you see, we are still a hub for medical tourism. That means people from other countries come to India to get them treated because they realize that the cost of treatment in India is much lesser compared to their countries, right? So, in that way, we are very fortunate, right? Now, 90% of the diseases gets treated within 5 lakhs. And most often I have seen as an employer, I generally think of that. And covering a 5 lakh rupee risk will cost me something like 15,000 or 20,000 rupees per employee per year, right? Which I will say, okay, I have that budget, or I have negotiated already in the salary and I kept it in that, and I will take it. But if you actually see, think from a employee point of view, 5 lakh rupees, if I get a claim, I can always beg and borrow, right? It will not affect my lifestyle beyond certain months. I can take a loan from my relatives or friends, or even there are a lot of personal loans which is possible to get it, right? But if I get a 50 lakh claim, there is no relatives, no friends, everybody will leave their hand, right? So then I have to really, it's a struggle, right? Rather than worrying about my health or my family health, I'll be more worried about how to generate that 50 lakh rupees fund. And if you have seen recently, I have seen there is an increase in LinkedIn, Facebook. I see that somebody's child is really struggling for the life, and
Yeah.
then he's trying to do the crowdfunding and all, right? I think as an employer, I feel that first we need to ensure that 50 lakh rupee risk. And then if I have a budget, then I can ensure the 5 lakh rupee risk. So what I suggest is, when you go to insurance company, you say that first 5 lakh rupees or 3 lakh rupees, whatever you can think that you can cover it yourself, you will do it yourself. Above that, I will cover it. And you will be surprised that if a cost of covering the first 5 lakh rupee risk is 15 or 20,000 rupees, the cost of covering from 10 to 50 lakh rupees is just 500 rupees. Just 500.
Hmm.
Now, I will not even think twice for covering with that rupee, with that kind of money, right? So if my company is having good cash flow, then definitely I should cover them for 50 lakhs. If not, I can tell the employee that the 10 to 50 lakhs or 5 to 50 lakhs or 3 to 50 lakhs will cover it, but the first 1 or 2 or 3 lakhs you have to cover it yourself, right? So as a professional, my advice to the most of the SMEs and all is ensure that your employees are covered for 50 lakhs. And then if you have a good budget, then you can insure it for the first 2 or 3 or 4 lakhs also. And for that, it's called as super top up policy. So you should go to a insurer or your broker and tell him that I want a super top up or a high deductible policy for my employees. That means the first certain part I will take care of myself, and then I'll go for it. In this way, it is a very good way of managing the risk actually. Otherwise,
Okay.
the normal group health policy, Anupam, you'll be surprised that I don't call it as insurance personally, because it's just a
Oh,
deferred
okay.
payment. It's just a
Wow.
deferred payment. Why I say so? Because if you have 100 employees, and if you have paid, let's say, 5 lakh rupees premium to cover all the 100 employees, next year the insurer will see that how much was the outflow, how much was the claims from this 100 employees. So if 100 employees has claimed for 7 lakhs, my next year premium will be 7 plus again xyz profit and all other administration expenses. So I have to pay at least 7 plus something like 9 lakh rupees premium. And if next year the claims is 10 lakhs, then again I have to pay for 13 lakhs. So what I am doing is I am deferring the risk by a year. So in insurance, it is not actually insurance, it's just a deferred payment. So when I say normal group health insurance policy, it's just a deferred payment. But when you talk about taking a bigger risk, super top policy, that actually in insurance itself. As an employer, I should take care of the bigger risk. That is a bright insurance. And then if I have a budget, then I can go for a smaller risk also to be covered.
Okay, fantastic. So, folks, we'll take a small break here at this point, and in the other side of this episode, we're going to talk about health insurance in specific and go into deep into a few, the most commonly asked questions that we get from our listeners, and that are also topics of conversation on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On The Habit Coach, Ashton delves into the power of meditation with spiritual guide Swami Purna Chaitanya. On Misconduct, Raghavi and Nisha tell us the story of Neha Verma, who killed 3 women in cold blood. On Cyrus Says Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Puneet, Utsav and Antariksh talk about the Tamil Nadu woman who disguised herself as a man for 36 years to avoid sexual harassment. On The Longest Constitution, Priya takes a look at the contest between private, commercial and constitutional interests. And on Big Talk about tiny humans, Devi Shobha and Meghna tell us how we can raise awareness about child sexual abuse. We've got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcasts has just launched its merch and our first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcasts website and click on the shop tab to check out our first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Don't forget to rate us on any platforms you're listening on. You can also check us out on YouTube. We are also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and advertising on the network. We would really appreciate if you could spare a few minutes to fill it. It helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: SBI Life Insurance, Jupiter, a digital banking app, and Capgemini. Get the future you want.
And welcome back. Okay, so Sushil, when you reached out to me, you said that, and this is a very interesting thing that you pointed out. You said that there are many insurance products that people can benefit from, but are not offered by insurance companies or agents unless asked for. What are
Yeah.
these products?
See, as a agent, and most of the business has been captured by agent in India, right? Because traditionally they have been operating from years, right? I will be more benefited if I sell a higher value insurance policy. So if my, let's say, commission is 15%, and if I sell a 10,000 rupees policy, I'll get 1,500 rupees. But then there is a better policy which is available at 2,000 rupees. But for 2,000, I will get 15% के हिसाब से. How much I will get it? Something like, say, around 300 rupees. Now, 300 rupees is not even sufficient for me to take my car, go to his house, and come back. The petrol expenses will be much more higher than the actual commission in the policy itself, right? So, I'll be more inclined to sell a higher value policy, right? But there are policies which is available. So, if there are 34 insurance companies, each company is having, let's say, 3 or 4 plans for health. So, that means around 150 plans we have in place. Now, no client or customer have time to go through the entire 150 plans, because each plan looks like a legal document for you, right? It will be very difficult for you to go through the entire document. One document per day also, it's not possible, right? So for a client, it becomes very difficult. So they rely on the advisor, and the advisor himself might not be have read all the 150 documents. So one is, he himself might not be aware that a better policy is available, and even if it is available, it may not be business, it will not be making business sense for him, right? So what can we do? So as a broker, what I think that, and that's why I kept the name of the company as Ethika, that first thing is you need to think about the client, because it is not a normal product he is buying. If something happens to my mobile, nothing will happen to me. But if something happens to my health, and if I don't get a claim, or if I get a claim at a lot of deductions, it will be a problem. So first priority is to think about the person. And then if the person really gets the right advice, right, and you might get a entry into his place, he might refer you to 10 other deals or 10 other customers, and that should be your real business growth, right? So when I say that, this lot of policies which are available, which I call as hidden horses, right? हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, डार्क, जो छुपा हुआ घोड़ा, right? These are the policies which we are trying to make it available to them on our website also. So all these policies, we are finding it out and keeping it, so that when person is searching for something, it should be available in the Google. So what happens? From our side, whatever is possible, we are doing it. And in the recent times, I have seen even government is also trying to do a lot of efforts now. In the last 2-3 years, and even the current chairman, which we have, the new chairman who have come in the IRDA, even he started a lot of initiatives to create this awareness from various channels, right? So that the policy is not only available to them, but also make it convenient for them to buy. That means you should be able to buy from just your Paytm app or this Google Pay app or something. It should be making very convenient. Or they are also combining these policies with various other products. For example, if I'm buying a vacuum cleaner, just imagine that if I get a house insurance when I buy that, right? Or if I'm buying a lock for my home, along with lock, I get a house insurance for that. So all those things is started happening, and technology is really helping in that domain, right? So I personally see that in a year or 2 or 3, insurance will become one of the essential part of our life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Susheel, let's now make a checklist on how to choose a good health insurance policy for yourself. So for the listeners, if you can just say, point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, just a nice checklist for our listeners and how they should choose a good health insurance policy for themselves.
Yeah. See, I'll give you the first rule. Whoever you're buying the policy from, whether it's insurance company or bank or insurance broker or agent, the first thing to ask is what is not covered in the policy. Don't ask them what is covered, ask them what is not covered, right? That's the best way to know the actual policy it is, right? So he will be forced to tell you that what is the not covered part, right? And then you can check that. The second question is, those things which you said not covered and you feel that these are essential covers, which are the policies which are covering those things which is you are saying not covered, right? So in that way you will be able to come to know that there are some policies which this insurance is not covering, but what other insurance company is covering, other policy is covering. So you will get basically in few minutes you will get to know that what is happening here, right? Second, when you take a health insurance, there are a couple of covers which is non-negotiable. That means you should not take a policy without having those covers, right? One is called as room rent. You will be surprised, Anupam, that in hospital industry, my treatment cost will change based on the room which I am choosing. So compared to normally hotel industry, let's say if I am entering into a five-star hotel, and if I am taking a deluxe room or standard room or suite, the cost of dosa in a restaurant will not change, right? It will be same irrespective of the room. But in hospital industry, it happens in a different way. So when I go to a general ward and I go to a single room or sharing room, the same doctor, the same operation theater, the same nurse, the same treatment will be costing me differently. So if my policy is not covering the room which I have taken, let's say if I've taken a 5,000 rupees room and my policy is covering only 4,000, personally, I'll be assuming that I'll be paid. If I stay for 3 days in a hospital, my deduction will be 1,000 rupees per day, which is 3,000 rupees, correct? So if a claim is coming, which is normal 1 lakh, since I have taken a room of 5,000 instead of 4,000, my total deduction will be 3,000 and I should get 97,000 rupees claim. But it doesn't happen that. My total deduction will be 20%, which is a proportionate deduction between 4,000 and 5,000.
Wow. Okay.
And that comes to me as a surprise. And when I
Yep.
get a surprise at the time of claim, I lose a faith on the insurance industry itself, because it has not been communicated to me in initial days. It is just written as a fine print in the policy document, right? And that really pains me, because as an insurance industry, we are losing the faith of the people, right? So what we need to do is, whenever you buy a health insurance policy, ensure that your room rent is not linked to something like 4,000 or 5,000 per day. It should clearly say that either no room rent limit, that means you are eligible to cover any room, or it should at least say that a single private room is eligible to be covered.
Okay.
So in this case, if I go to a higher hospital, which is like a corporate hospital, Apollo or something, where the room rent might be 10,000, or if I go to a normal hospital with 5,000, I don't have to worry about the deductions with respect to the room rent. Second
Okay.
thing, no, there are a lot of treatments which is being coming every year, which is called as modern treatments. Now, these modern treatments are those treatments because of the advancement in the medical technology, right? New and new ways of treating the same particular disease or operation is being devised, like something like robotic surgery, something like stem cell, right? Now, most of the insurance policies doesn't cover that.
Wow.
And even if they cover, because even the regulator has asked them to cover these policies, very smartly they have kept a sublimit in that. For example, if my policy is covering for 15 lakh rupees sum insured, they say that for modern treatments we'll pay only 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh. That means it is as good as not covering that, right?
Yeah.
So when I take any health insurance policy, I should ask the person that whether the modern treatments are covered up to the full limit, right? Because in future, most of the treatments will be done through modern treatments only, right? Robotic surgeries may not be that popular now, but it is going to be in coming future. And when we take a health insurance policy, we don't think about today, we think about the next 10 years, 15 or 20 or 25 years, right?
Yep.
So modern treatment is something which we need to cover. The
Okay.
third one is the home treatment. Now this became popular because of COVID. Now this says that if the hospital is not available, the room availability is not there in hospital, and if doctor is advising me to make my room itself like a hospital, that means a nurse is provided, then there is saline, and then there is a treatment which is been given at my home itself, right? Then that should be covered. And very few policies cover the domiciliary or the home treatment part. And in COVID, you have seen that the hospital rooms were not available and people were forced to take treatment inside the room itself, inside their
Yep.
home
That's
itself,
right.
right?
That's right.
So those claims were not payable for most of the policies. It got rejected, but some of the policies paid for that, right? So that became very popular, home treatment. Now there is another treatment which is becoming very popular is Ayush. That means Ayurvedic, Unani, AYUSH, and Siddhi, and
Yep.
homeopathy,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So if I am taking a treatment in those hospital which is promoted by government itself, I should be covered. And if you have seen the last few years, we have seen a lot of popularity in that alternate healing mechanisms, right? So I personally feel that I should be covered for that, because I don't know how the next 10 years or 5 years will be. Hopefully even those new treatments will also have some treatments which even allopathic is not covering. So at least my policy should be able to cover that aspect also. I think these are the couple of things which you need to take care of this health insurance policy, rather
Okay.
than worrying about the small covers. They are like cherry on the cake. Now
Sure.
when people worry about the cherry and forget the cake itself, that's not correct. So the cherry on the cake is like something like health checkup milega kya, whether I'll get health checkup in the health insurance policy, how much return I will get it after 2 3 years, whether I'll be able to that's a very very good question, that if I'm paying 10,000 premium, how much I'll get it after 2 3 years. They're
But
not.
it's a health insurance
They
policy.
will
I'm not
ask. They will ask,
okay.
because traditionally
Sorry. Huh.
we have been programmed like that. Insurance means 2 3 years ka kitna return aayega.
ठीक है, चलो ठीक है. Okay, let's get to a slightly more tricky part, Sushil. Something that affects a lot of people and at the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Because when you're sitting in a hospital, you don't want to think about all these things. But let's talk about it. Health insurance claims. Okay, and some
Okay.
claims get stuck for a long period of time. Why is that? And how to avoid situations like that?
See, in an insurance company, the claim person, the claim head, the claim department, he is getting paid not to pay the claim. Think about it. He will be getting paid to pay claims only when he cannot reject it. Think logically. How will an insurance company will be profitable if I get all the claims? I am just paying it as an insurance claim person, all the claims for the claim amount fully. It will not make sense. It will not be profitable, right? So a claim person performance is rated based on how many claims he rejected without getting a counter argument from the consumer that you rejected it wrongly, or without he going to the court and suing it. That means it should be so technically strong that nobody can object on that. So they will try to find out lot of fine prints and all to ensure that the claim can be rejected without even they getting back the counter claim.
Hmm.
So when a claim is getting delayed, that means there is a gray area. That means if the claim is paid, the insurance company will pay immediately. Why? Because they also don't want to wait for a claim which has to be paid anyhow. So they want to earn the points on the goodwill that I have paid claim very fast, right? But when there is a gray area, then only the delay is happening. And the gray area might be a couple of reasons. One is that I have taken a policy which is not very clear in its wording, right? So for example, I'll give you a very very raw example in that, and I give this example to everybody so that it will be very easy for anybody to understand. Let's say while I'm talking to you, my car is parked and I have a laptop in that. Okay. And when I go back and I see that the laptop is not there and the laptop is having insurance, I'll go to the insurance company and say that my laptop is stolen. Is it right? Normally, right? In our language, we'll say that my laptop is stolen. I want to file the claim. Now, insurance company will ask that how did you lose the laptop? Give me the story. Then he say, okay, I went back. I found that my car was open and the laptop was not there. Then he say, how did you left the car was open means basically you left the key somewhere, right? You left the key either at the parking lot or you might have lost somebody and somebody have found the key and they took that. It is called as negligence, not the theft. So the claim is not payable. In our language, it is a theft, but in insurance language, it's negligence, and you cannot prove it around. So the claim will
Yeah.
be rejected. But if
Rejected.
I
Yeah.
say that, okay, my driver has run away with the laptop, that means something happened and the driver found the money is he want immediate money and he took the laptop. Now he's absconding. Now you pay for it. Then the insurance company will say, how can I pay? It is not a theft. It is infidelity. That means if your own person is stealing the goods from your own house or from you, it is infidelity. Theft is when somebody else is stealing. That means some third party is stealing,
Stranger. Yeah. Okay.
right? So it is not payable. So again, I get disappointed. So there is a thin line between that. How can I cover infidelity? Then there is a separate policy called infidelity policy where you need to cover, right? Then the third scenario, I say that see, I went there. I maybe the person was able to break the window little bit, and he was able to steal it. Then say, okay, did you see your policy document? We have written that burglary is covered. We have not written theft is covered. So in this case also he says the burglary is covered. Burglary means forced entry. That means the window has to be broken. That's a forced entry, right? Even that is covered, but theft is not covered. Theft is an add-on which you should have taken at the time of policy. Burglary is covered. So all these things, fine line of definition, which is important for the insurance industry. No insurance industry can run without having this. But there should be some person who should be able to explain the person that, see, if you want to cover this, you need to cover against theft. That means you need to have an infinity insurance. Then you need to have ensure that what is negligence defined, and you should also give the scenarios which you expect that this kind of theft can happen at your place, and then insurance company will ensure that policy with the proper documents, and then there will not be any delay in issuing the claim. So whenever the claim is delayed, it is because there is some gray area where insurance company is trying to prove something and the claimant is trying to prove something, and when the one of the person wins, the claim will be paid. And that is a time where insurance broker job is very important. The truth of the moment is how your insurance broker is helping you to fight with the insurance guy to protect your interest, because insurance companies have a very good lawyers and technical person who understand insurance very well, so they can fight it in a very nice way. Unless until client is having equally good or better person who understand the same insurance policy, right, it will not be equal fight. A normal lawyer cannot fight with the insurance guy in the same way. Why? Because he has to learn the same nomenclature of insurance, right? Which we have spent years together to learn that, right? So it is always better to have a insurance person who understand insurance so good that in case of any claim, even if some gray area happens, then it will be taken care.
Very interesting. So, last question, Sushil. What are some of the myths around health insurance that you would want to bust for our listeners? I mean, there's stuff you just said one about how people, even for I can probably understand for life insurance they want something in return, but health insurance, I don't know. So, last question: what are some of the myths around health insurance that you would like to bust?
The first one, I believe, is the most strong one. I think that I can take health insurance anytime.
Oh,
But
okay.
the truth is, health insurance is only for healthy people. That means if I'm not healthy, why will an insurance company will cover me? Right? And I want to take insurance when I feel that I'm not healthy. Nobody will cover me. There are so many people want to cover them, but they don't want. Suppose if I have a cancer, if I go to insurance company, I say that okay, cover me. Why will an insurance company will cover me? Forget about cancer. If I have a diabetes, a thyroid, or even the normal, the so-called lifestyle disease, which everybody is getting at the age of 40 or 45, it becomes highly impossible for me to get the right insurance policy. So the right time to buy the insurance policy is when I'm healthy, right? That's the first myth. Second is there is no right to healthcare in India. Rich people have money, poor people have ESI, middle class is just a hospital bill away from poverty, right?
Mm,
So I need to have a health insurance.
yeah.
Right, so that is the second, that okay, nothing will happen to me. Even there are film stars, there are cricketers who went through so dreadful disease like cancer, where they are supposed to take care of their health as a priority, right? So when they can get diseases, who am I? The
Hmm.
third thing, right, 4 to 5 lakh rupees is an expense which is required to take care of anything, and 4 to 5 lakh rupees I can take care of myself, right? But there are new diseases which are getting discovered or invented rather every year, right? COVID is, I will not say discovered, is invented actually. Right? So every year is coming something. We never heard about chikungunya, swine flu, Ebola, and all those diseases. We never heard about it, right? In the last few years only we are seeing it. And then there are new treatments which are being created to cover those kind of things, and this treatment cost is huge. It comes with a lot of blessing, but it comes with, for example, laparoscopy. It took away almost people used to take 7 or 8 days to recover from the operation. Laparoscopy 1 day is enough because it's a pinhole surgery. They only do a pinhole surgery instead of breaking it for 6 inch kind of cut or something. Then now robotic surgeries are coming, which is much more costlier. It needs a lot of money, right? And my income is not increasing at the rate of increase in inflation in medical. So for example, medical inflation is rated as 21-22% by McKinsey in India. That means the same cost of healthcare, which is coming at 5 lakhs, next year it will be 6.5 lakhs. But
Wow.
my income should also increase in that. My income is like 5%, 10% every year. So the gap, the affordability gap between what I can pay for and how the increase in the medical cost is huge, and that gap is increasing in an accelerated manner. So what I can think that I can afford to pay for my medical treatment, I may not be able to do so in coming years unless until my income also increases at that threshold,
That's right.
right? So that is again one more myth for people. And the last thing is, the I can buy insurance to save the tax. That is something which, you see in the March month, 65% of the insurance business is done in the month of March because they have to pay
Show
for
it for the insurance. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So we are taking policies to save the 30% or 20% of the tax, right? And that time there is so much pressure on me to buy that I don't spend the required time to understand that what is right policy for me,
Yeah, this is an
right? I
important one, Sushil, because you can buy that same policy in the remaining 11
Yeah,
months
yeah,
and still
yeah.
get the same benefit on the tax
Yes,
side.
yes.
Wonderful point. Go on, please.
Yeah. So that is something which we need to remove it, or which we need to do a little bit of planning in advance, right? That so that I get, and then nowadays this health insurance also have a quarterly or even half yearly installment facility. That means I need not pay the entire 15-20,000 rupees premium upfront. We can pay, let's say, 2 or 3 thousand rupees depending on the premium, and then pay it. So it is not a burden on my pocket also, right? So all those things combined, if we really take care of those people and create a kind of awareness, and I think this session I really appreciate, Anupam, your effort in that. If we can help even if 10% of the audience in proper planning of their risk management, and I think it will be done. And I always advise that 31st December is a right time for that. You know why? Because we are already planning for next year, right? So when we're already planning for next year, that this is what I want to do, this is how I want to grow and all, I think 5 minutes planning on that, how do I protect that growth which I've already achieved, right? That will help. So in the last 1 year, what are the new risks which has come, whether I'm covered or not, which are the new assets which I have brought, what are the new things which I am doing it, what are the new health covers which have come in the market, whether I'm properly covered or not, all those things can be done. And a right insurance advisor is can really help in that.
Yeah. Right insurance, health insurance advisor. Sorry, Sushil. Please give us your, coordinates, or how can our listeners reach out to you if they want to know more about what you're talking about, your website or your social media, whatever it is. Maybe there are some listeners who want to take you up on your offer and get some good advice. What should they do?
See, Anupam, this is a age of technology, right? And we are a bootstrap company. We have not even have a single investor on board, right? We have brought this company from our own efforts. So we don't have that kind of budget which Policy Bazaar or this kind of companies are having. They have around 300-400 crores of budget, right? So what we do is we try to reach out to audience or our target market in an organic manner, right? And we have built a beautiful website for that, right? That was in our reach, and we try to put the proper authenticated information. That means information which is built for the consumer, not for the broker. That means even if it might cost me a business, I will rather give away that information which will be helpful for them to take a decision, rather than giving a information and earning some profit, a temporary profit, right? I want to earn the trust. And that's why we have built a robust website where we have kept many techniques, many much very good kind of guides which can help a person to buy the insurance policy. And then there is no obligation that they need to do business with us. Once they have a proper information, they can now choose the right insurance broker or right insurance company by themselves. right? But if they don't have that much time, they don't want to go through the entire guides and all, they can reach out to us, and they'll be always getting the right and authenticated advice. And that's why we have named the company as Ethika, because ethics is something which is the paramount thing for any business. But for insurance, it becomes much more larger, because what you're buying is a paper if it is not being the promise is not being served.
Yeah. So, folks, those of you who are listening to this and not, not seeing this, then because on Susheel's video, the company's name is there. It's Ethika. Okay, so when you Google, please Google Ethika Insurance first of all, because there's something else called Ethika, which I think
Yeah.
is some fashion stuff. But the website is ethika.co.in. If, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube or on video, you can see Susheel's company out there. So the website, like I said, is ethika.co.in. Susheel, anything else, or should we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm largely, basically, I want to thank you, because
Oh,
I
come
have
on.
seen a couple of
My pleasure.
other testimonials, right? And financial well-being is something which, no, I mean, for a middle class, it's very important. And since India's larger workforce is in the middle class, I think you're doing a very noble initiative.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Sushil. And folks, I think you need to just keep this in mind. I get a lot of queries, people telling me that what mutual fund should I buy, what asset. Like, do you even have your health insurance in place? Please, in my opinion, I don't know, Sushil. What about you? After the bank account, a health insurance is the first
Yeah.
first financial product that all of us should have. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, see, think about health insurance in a different way. See, what if I have 20 lakh rupees in my bank account, kept it such a way that I can utilize it anytime for many medical emergency. And if I utilize it, I don't have to repay back to the bank. How much interest it will be? 20 lakh rupees interest at
So
the rate of 6%,
5% or 6%.
right?
Yeah, that's like
It,
1,20,000
yeah,
a year. Yeah.
yeah. But
Sorry,
for an insurance policy, it will be
10
like
top.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
So
on.
for
Sorry.
insurance policy, how much it will be?
For
Right?
a 20
It's
lakh
peanuts.
cover, yeah, it's hardly
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
So think about it, that somebody has kept 20 lakh rupees in your bank account for medical emergency, and this guy is saying that don't pay me back if you're utilizing it for medical emergency, and I will pay another 20 lakhs again next year. It's like something different,
Yeah.
right?
So,
I'm just converting it into the insurance language, right? And when I'm comparing it with any kind of investment, like you said, mutual fund or something, right? It is like this. See, mutual fund and insurance, the difference is only one thing, that in investment we are betting into some event, that okay, something should happen, the rate of interest should increase, or my income should increase or something, right? And insurance also, we are betting some on some event, that earthquake should not happen, or this flood should not happen, right? But if you actually see, in when I'm actually buying the insurance, the possibility of happening something wrong, that the earthquake or something, for example, I give the very good example is something like, suppose I want to buy a lottery ticket. The possibility of winning the lottery ticket is, say, 1 in 1 lakh, but me crossing the road to buy the lottery ticket and dying against the road accident is 1 in 1000. So
it's a
me
nice way of putting it.
dying while buying for lottery ticket is much more higher. So I'm very happy to buy a lottery ticket, because it creates a sense of excitement, but the possibility of winning is so less compared to the possibility of me dying in that road accident.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, there you go, folks. That's a interesting way of looking at health insurance. But of course, both of us agree that health insurance is a very critical financial product to own. And I hope that this episode, we've taken some time. Obviously, we've gone slightly longer than our usual episode, because this is a very important topic. Like I said, the website is ethika.co.in. That's a wrap on this episode of Paisa Vaisa. My guest, Susheel Agarwal, founder, director, Ethika Insurance Broking. Susheel, thank you, really. Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you.
this for our
Thank you.
listeners.
Thank you. So nice.
And listeners, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm your host, Anupam Gupta, B50 on Twitter. Folks, thank you so much for listening to Paisa Vaisa.
No material on the show should be considered as financial advice. The material on the show is for informational purposes only. Please consult a financial advisor before taking any investment decision.